Oh, Ryan, I did want to tell you, I ended up taking your advice and using Notebook LM for my last two finals. And not that I didn't know it was a good study tool, it ended up being better than I even thought. I mean, the ability to just generate slideshows like that instantly, the podcast tool was amazing. Definitely will be using that more in the future. Well,
Welcome to the Deeks.ai podcast, where Wake Forest innovators unpack the real-world magic of artificial intelligence through candid conversations. I'm Michael Ferrari.
I'm Ryan Scholl.
Please join us as we explore how artificial intelligence is transforming work across campus, one fascinating story at a time.
With us today, we have Becket Spencer, an economics major who just finished up his junior year and is heading into his senior year. An eclectic young man, Becket embodies a true liberal arts student. He is a thinker, entrepreneur, and opportunist. He's about to fascinate us with the ways that AI can change the world for those who are willing to dream the impossible.
So Becket, you are an entrepreneur at heart. You're an idea man. You are the epitome of a modern day liberal arts student, full of opportunities. The world is open to you. You were obsessed with Shark Tank from a young age, always looking for those opportunities. Why do you love entrepreneurship so much? How do you have all these ideas? And tell us about some of the early ones you had.
I think, like you said, I think it came from Shark Tank originally, kind of watching those four or five judges who are super successful sitting up there and realizing that there is a path for me where I can be my own boss, make my own hours. And that kind of idea of freedom, I guess, at a young age really inspired me to kind of be one of those guys sitting up there on Shark Tank. And you could make your own hours at the same time as making possibly a lot of money. Seemed like kind of the ideal route to me in late middle school and then early high school. So I kind of
Have you
focused
already picked the beach you're going to sit on while you're running your companies?
Yes. So Singing Beach, actually, it's right next to my town.
You actually had an answer for that. That's
Yeah,
wonderful.
definitely want to live here. Hopefully, when I'm older, move back to Boston. But yeah, there's some good Northeast beaches. Yeah, and then yeah, I guess in high school, I kind of started competing in a competition called DECA, which is a business competition where I focused. I picked the category of entrepreneurship. And I guess that's really where a lot of these ideas started coming. So freshman year of high school, it was yeah, right before COVID, I did my first DECA competition where I outlined a 25-page research paper on I guess a company I called the Human Gills, essentially a face mask that you could use underwater, and it took the process of hydrolysis splitting or electrolysis splitting the hydrogen and oxygen molecules and H2O, and kind of created a concept around a mask that would provide you a seemingly infinite supply of oxygen underwater. And so that was a cool idea. I don't know. I wrote the paper. We made it to the states. We didn't make it past states, but that kind of kicked everything off for me. I did that with a few friends too, and so my friend group was pretty entrepreneurial in high school, which helped. People were always starting landscaping companies, doing all that. And I guess junior year of college, I had a pretty big entrepreneurship moment where I was applying. As I started to apply to colleges, St. Lawrence University offered me an opportunity to compete for a scholarship called the Viola Scholarship, based off an application. I had entered off the question, "What would you do with $1 million?" And I kind of created an idea. It revolves around a UK-based company called Pavagen, which creates Pavagen tiles, which when stepped on, they go on sidewalks across the UK. And that compression when stepped on generates kinetic energy. And I kind of applied that concept to the problem of my computer always running out of power and all my friends in school, and I never have a charger. And so if you could take these sidewalk tiles that you step on, I mean, you're typing away at your computer all day. So I kind of just applied the Pavagen tiles concept to computer keys, just like the human gills, where it's an unlimited supply of oxygen. This one was an unlimited supply of hypothetical energy. And I kind of framed it as how much kind of CO2 emissions it could save in the environment per year. And I ended up going to New York to compete with, I think, around 100 other students for that scholarship in front of a few panels of judges. It was a crazy, amazing experience. And I ended up winning that. And so that kind of gave me confidence there that it was a cool idea and that entrepreneurship might be something that I actually would want to do. And I guess that stemmed into a social media agency my senior year of high school, where I was running Instagram accounts, grew them a few to over 100,000 followers, and I would build them up and then create not like botted followers either, pretty like using my own strategies I kind of developed. I would go into like Instagram analytics settings, look at the location of my followers, post at the times that were most optimal for them. And then I would build a brand around the account. So I had like a skiing account, built a brand around it, would partner with like other ski companies. I released like custom pairs of skis with my brand on it, do giveaways and stuff. That was always more of a passion thing, honestly, like entrepreneurship. I wasn't even trying to like make money with a lot of this stuff, but it was just kind of cool to me at the time, I guess. And yeah.
So you built the social media empire. You created Becket Enterprises here. A lot of this happened before artificial intelligence. And then it seems to me that when artificial intelligence came to the scene and you were introduced to it, you really didn't think, what is artificial intelligence? You thought, what can I build with it?
Yeah.
And you started taking that to the next level. And I think, as you described before, you jumped in, and a lot of these tools, you were early adopters of them, and you saw the possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think 2023 November was that ChatGPT came out. I think in high school I saw a lot of kids who really the only possibility behind AI is like cheating on schoolwork. I feel like people at first didn't even realize that there were other use cases even outside of it. And like, yeah, like you said, I kind of took it in a very, what can I do with this way? What could I build? I mean, I don't have all the knowledge in the world, but like suddenly I had all the knowledge in the world at the click of a button. So how could you use that? And especially when I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I mean, it only acted as kind of an enhancement to that.
So some of the people, some of your like peers around you, their first instinct was for using it to like cheat and complete assignments.
Not necessarily, not cheat. Maybe some people. I know cheating's very prevalent with AI right now. I mean, brainstorming was kind of like the first use case I saw, like
Sure.
do a rough draft of my essay for me. And those are things where I don't even want to call it cheating right now. I talked about Ryan with this last time, like what
Mhm.
is kind of defined as cheating in this day and age, where is it
Sure.
an outline of a paper? I don't know. But yes, it kind of seemed like schoolwork was the use case for everybody. People didn't realize it could produce code and do all this other amazing stuff. So
You don't have a coding background, correct?
no, I can't. ChatGPT is the reason, like really, I got into coding.
But you also said earlier that you were one of the first 100 accounts on Lovable. Is that true?
I possibly like first at that. Yeah, I signed up pretty early, like virtually like right when the company was created. And Manus AI too, I was probably actually like before. I checked my Manus account
Wow.
actually yesterday so I can make sure I had the date. And I have like the early adopter badge too, which is kind of cool.
So
Like
you really jumped right in on this agent world and agentic coding because you saw the possibilities of what could be created.
yeah, as a guy who like wants to do entrepreneurship so bad, I was always writing down these business ideas in high school. And I mean, for the first time ever, you can type in your business idea and have a visualization of it in 5 to 15 seconds. I mean, it's unbelievable technology for just like creativity. I mean, being able to.
I would counter that as much as you want to think of yourself as an entrepreneur, I would say that you're more of an inventor, that you just have all these ideas and you
Yeah.
loved coming up with things. So I'm wondering, like, how does AI impact that world? You have all this power at your fingertips.
Yeah, I think I kind of so I was already coming up with business ideas before, and I think it's only just enhanced that in the way where probably the prompt that I give it a lot when I like to think of these business ideas is like, what are the maybe top 10 like most niche, most unknown, most unstudied, most futuristic or innovative topics that I could learn about. I'll get a list of things that it thinks are like super high tech, super interesting, futuristic, not a lot of research is around, and then I'll go deeper on it with that specific topic. And that's kind of how I start thinking of a lot of these business ideas today. I've been focusing I just a lot of like futuristic AI stuff. So I talk to ChatGPT a lot, dive super deep with these models, asking them questions and stuff. It's really kind of a person to like bounce ideas off of. I mean,
Now, when you talk about the ways that you use generative AI, you're not talking about basic, enhanced Google search. You're not talking about just trying to find information. You're taking it to the next level. And you've described ways that you use it more with extra context rather than just asking questions.
mhm.
How can other students learn from the way you're using it rather than just a question and answer machine?
um, I think some of the stuff that I do specifically relating to my schoolwork could be helpful. For me personally, Canvas is the application, like the platform that we use at Wake Forest. I'm sure a lot of other schools use it, and they offer their own API key within settings that you can pull. And I'm just a disorganized person, and I feel like Canvas only enhances my disorganization. It feels just messy, and so I wanted to kind of create my own. And I think that this is something that it's not that like it kind of sounds hard. There's some like terminology that's kind of complicated, but it's not that hard for any student at Wake to actually just do in 10 minutes themselves. You can go into your Canvas settings, request your own API key. And so I would build out like my own Canvas dashboard on Lovable. You ask it to maybe build out a dashboard for you in a way that's optimal to me, in a way that I just essentially made it more like a Notion like screen, like clean layout, to-do lists, day by day. And I even went so far to have a kind of like AI agent system where if I have a test a week out on my custom Canvas dashboard, about 4 days out from that, when I like starting to prepare for tests, AI agents will go in and create all the study materials necessary, pull all the resources, create a study guide for that test. So when I click on it, everything's already there. You can do this all with Lovable. Just say, create me my own Canvas dashboard, give it what you want, get your API key, and all your assignments will be in there. It's probably like the most recent school use case that I thought was cool and helpful. And I actually did show a bunch of my friends at Wake, and some of them did do it, and it was helpful for them too. I think the other thing is artifacts and gems is something that maybe students do know and have thought of, but if they haven't, they're kind of just these persistent chats with like memory across sessions, and that's been one of the most helpful things for me. Uh,
Explain what a gem is,
well, so
and which platform it is.
so a gem is on a Gemini, which is by Google, and what's the other one called? Artifacts is by Claude. They're essentially the same thing. In Gem, you go on and you can create this like specific chat towards a specific thing and give it specific instructions within that chat. So my use case that I also think is helpful for students is I did this both abroad and this semester. Like right when I found out what classes I was in, got added to it on Canvas and had the syllabus and course materials. I went class by class. So like my econ class I started with, downloaded the syllabus, all the course materials, went into Gemini and pressed create a gem. And it asks you for a title. I titled it Econ 207 Macroeconomics. And then it says like details, you give it a little details on the class, and then it says instructions. And so you can actually prompt this thing to act like your economics teacher. You can even prompt it in with certain instructions if your teacher does stuff in a certain way too, which is super helpful. If your teacher models in a certain way, that's where you would put that. You would then upload all the course contents into the background of this gem. It analyzes all of that, turns into this persistent chat that's always on your sidebar, econ, macroeconomics. Every time I want to refer back to an econ question, I use that chat because the memory is persistent. So if I wanted to study for a cumulative final exam, all those questions that I've previously had, all the things I've struggled on and that it knows that I need to work on based on prior chats, like it remembers that, and it can really help you progressively study for things. And so I do that for every class. I'll make either an artifact on Claude or a gem on Gemini. And yeah, I just keep all my chats for that class contained within that gem.
So artificial intelligence like really helped you evolve like how you're learning and using it, at with your classes and everything. I'm curious, has it also did it change at all your overall path, maybe that you initially had set out on?
Like career path.
Yeah, like exactly.
Yes, like a little bit. And I've always like wanted to be an entrepreneur even before AI. AI made me want to be an entrepreneur involved in AI, but then I'm also it's hard as an economics major at Wake Forest. I'm not a CS major. I'm not taking AI classes. I'm not learning how to code AI. So the pathways into roles at actual like an AI engineer or something at Google, like I would love to do something like that. That would be amazing. Except it's just kind of not aligned with my current path. I think the intersection of finance and AI is kind of what this has led me to. I'm working at MFS in Boston this summer, which I'm super excited about. It's an amazing company where I'll be doing fixed income, like research for them. And so I kind of want to turn that hopefully eventually maybe into I don't know. Hopefully, what I do this summer, I can recognize some ways, maybe something that could be not improved, but maybe streamlined or optimized, and I don't know, suggest it to somebody and kind of lead my way into a role that involves AI and is at just that intersection of tech, finance,
Mhm.
AI, fintech, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I think it's changed my path a little, but I'm still like on the same course, but it's just opened up a bunch of options.
Okay. Do you feel like it helped like enable you into like with being able to get kind of like a more accurate experience of actually what your, you know, dream of being an entrepreneur like entails?
Yeah, definitely. I've spent a ton of time on all these vibe coding platforms and like watching my dreams come to life. I've never really started fully one of these companies that I've talked to you guys about so far, but like, I don't know, just the process of visualizing, watching. Yeah.
Okay. So you feel like it's more helped you like hammer home like what you want to do. I'm curious, do you know any, do you, you mentioned like friends and stuff having similar like approaches to things and entrepreneurial spirits and everything. Do you know anyone else who uses it like to the extent that you do, like artificial intelligence?
Um, no, I do not.
Okay.
Like, I mean, my friends at Wake are actually like very, very knowledgeable in it. Um, and I love to talk. I don't know if they like that I talk to them about this stuff, but I love spewing this information at them. So
Sure.
I think they use it in pretty similar ways, but I'm not sure if like too many people are taking advantage of it. I've talked to my brother before, who's a freshman at Wake, so I kind of get the picture from him too. It just doesn't seem like it seems like it's a like an essay outlining tool and stuff like that. And I don't know. Entrepreneurship leads you into so many use cases of AI, but not everybody wants to like be an entrepreneur or knows that. So it's not like they explore all those cool things that you could do if you wanted to be an entrepreneur. But those things can apply to anybody though, and that's kind of really what I would hope people realize eventually. But
Sure. Absolutely.
You talked about fintech. I know you're interested in certain markets. You're an economics major. How do economics and artificial intelligence mesh together? What kind of what kind of ideas do you have for integrating the two?
yeah, I've actually well, I guess kind of the first way they intersect is probably prediction markets. Been super interested in studying markets, super interested in AI, and I kind of intersected that this semester by creating two call sheet prediction market bots. Where one of them was predicting weather markets, the other was kind of making parlays on it could do any of the 3,000 call sheet markets, trying to do some statistical arbitrage, mean reversion strategies.
Can you explain what a prediction market is?
Yeah, sure. So the two big ones that people may have heard of, like Kalshi and Poly market, you can essentially bet on just like a stock market where you can invest in a stock, you can invest in the yes or no outcome of a real life event. So like, well, will blank be elected as the next presidential candidate? Like yes or no? Will blank happen by 2027? Yes or no?
Can I set up a poly market for how long it takes Michael into an episode to say the word notebook LM?
No, you cannot. I actually did see though, there's a new, I forget the name, new prediction markets company just raised funding where you can actually, it's more crowdsourcing. You make the bet. So actually, yes, on there you could, and then the community can come in and place money on any line that you create yourself. So yeah, it's probably possible in the future.
So you're looking for ways to really bastardize the term to hack these prediction markets with agents.
Yep. Yep. And I definitely like haven't cracked that yet. I will be clear. Like the weather bot, it doesn't work well. I think you would almost need like not a supercomputer, like such a fast computer. The advantage is like data latency arbitrage, being faster than the next guy. If you can see that a Kalshi weather market at Denver Airport is 65 degrees, but then I combine that with a ton of different APIs from government like weather data and other weather sources, even like the specific airport weather monitor of whatever market I'm on. And if you can find like the discrepancy in that, that's when you invest. But I don't know if I necessarily like did it. Maybe I did it wrong. Just wasn't working too well, but it was a cool
So
project.
compare the difference between a hobbyist doing this in a prediction market and big consulting or financial firms doing predictive modeling. Is there a difference between using artificial intelligence for those two use cases?
Yeah, I think they're definitely doing it in a mm, bigger way than I am, in a way that I've had a lot of ideas surrounding this too. Like world models is likely what they're using. If you could somehow tie a world model into a system like Cauchy,
What's a world model?
uh, bit like a world model, it started in like around 2018, the research of it, and it's a big battleground in AI right now, where it differs from the current LLMs that most people know, like ChatGPT, Claude. Kind of completely flips the way these things are trained. ChatGPT and Claude right now, they kind of predict the next token in a series of tokens based on context. They analyze the meaning of all pairs of words in a sentence at once instantly. And it does simulate human reasoning and consciousness, but world models are kind of a contradiction to that in the way where these might really be able to simulate human reasoning and conscious. I think a good analogy is um, how you can if you have a stove on that's super hot, you don't need to touch it to know it's hot. That we have a model of that kind of baked into our head. And so world models takes that literally, where you start training these things not on text, but on it's called JEPA, JEPA architecture, and you give it like audio data, visual data, sensor data, and then hopefully people like Jan LeCun, the guy who built Meta Reality Labs from scratch and just left to start one of these companies that built World Model. The goal is that in the same way that a toddler can watch an apple fall from a tree, a 5-year-old, and they don't need to know Newton's laws, but they don't know what gravity is, but they develop a model of gravity and understanding of it in their head. So the goal is ultimately like maybe one day these world models will be able to just observe things like that. Just like a 5-year-old can observe a ball falling and they don't know Newton's laws, but it bakes in this model of gravity in their head. And
So
so,
an LLM that we're all familiar with is trained on text, and a world model is trained on physics.
yes, yep, perfect way to put
All
it.
right. So you want to use these world models to do predictive modeling.
Yes, I think that it can create like it creates a very good internal simulation of how reality works, and they can really literally be used to predict the future. When you combine the concept like this with something like a swarm of AI agents, which this is kind of like one of those futuristic ideas I've been working on recently.
So
Uh,
this is the next step in artificial intelligence.
I think so. I think so, but it's still not clear in my mind. I would love to talk to like a guy like deep in the AI space, a Google AI engineer, and see what they really think about market-based intelligence. But that's something that relates to markets, the economy, and prediction markets that I think could lead us.
You're really making my silly decision council of asking Claude, ChatGPT, and Gemini if I should go see a movie and having them argue look pretty dumb when when I have three of them talking to each other and you're talking about millions of them, you know, hacking the market here. So
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
need to
got the
read
idea.
your white paper on this when you put that out.
The idea is kind of from a company called Miro Fish that I saw probably a month ago now. That it was released in China within 24 hours. It's the most starred project on GitHub. Some Chinese billionaire invested in it like the same day, and so I was like, okay, this is probably pretty cool. So I checked out their demo on their website, and it's AI swarm evolution technology, where they have this continuous swarm that you put in a situation and then it starts creating and spawning these agents that simulate like every role in society. This sandbox social media environment among the thousands of agents that are created, they simulate a year of that. And that's kind of like the best way they figured to create like an outcome on the future. And so I kind of took that and I was like, same type of agent evolution system.
See, Michael, I told you that I told you he's
Yep.
got a bunch of ideas.
Well, here's my input. The ones that are really bad at it, you don't get rid of them. You do the equivalent of what my two friends who are in the sports betting did, where whenever one strongly believed in something, but he was so horrible at prediction and betting, the other guy just did the opposite and he made a couple of bucks. So that's what you do. You don't get rid of the bad ones. You have their predictions steer the other ones.
That's actually
Do
a
the
really good idea.
opposite.
That, I'm
I'd love to
actually
see
going
I'd love to
to
see
do
the
that.
numbers
Yeah.
on that. I'd love to see the percentages of you know what, Michael? Put that on Kalshi and let me bet on that.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's actually a really cool idea. I'm gonna look into that.
All right. So I want to back up. So you have all these great theoretical ideas, and you've learned a lot along the way. And you were telling me earlier about a project that you actually started, which seeded a lot of this, I think, because it was another AI project that you started, and I don't think you took it to completion, but it was something about ways to enhance lifeguards and their
Yes.
abilities.
Yep. Yeah, that one, I mean, like you said, I didn't take it to completion, which is the problem with a lot of these endeavors I do. It's all a learning thing in the end. But so, yeah, I've been a lifeguard for 4 years now, the past two of which I've been a beach lifeguard on the beach I mentioned, Singing Beach, which is next to my town. So it's super busy. I mean, at any given hot day, you could have like 400 people across the entire beach. We generally have three lifeguards on the stand, one walking the beach. It's still a lot for like four people to be watching. And this happens across beaches all in the country. And so I'm up there on the lifeguard stand all day, talking to my friend Henry. And we actually, he's one of those entrepreneurial friends who we were literally just bouncing business ideas off of each other to kind of pass time while we watched the water. And I was like, lifeguards are really always wearing sunglasses. I mean, you need to be. It's too bright to not. And this is at a time where meta glasses are kind of like the talk. I mean, they're just coming out, the new AI glasses, they're super cool. And so I was kind of like, what if you just made an AI detection system for meta glasses and then maybe paired that with a camera or two at either end of the beach? And if you were going to make this a company, it could be like almost like a package thing. People pay for each additional like camera that like safety, like, or they pay for like, and yeah, so we actually ended up kind of looking deep into it. We ended up taking a lot of hours of real beach footage and then going on to Hugging Face, which is an open source repository, just like GitHub, but not for like code repos, for free AI models that you could run locally on your computer. If another thing, students, if you're interested in actually doing like something with AI, these are all free on Hugging Face. And so we pulled one called YOLO. You only look once is what it stands for, and it's a pre-trained, all right, YOLO v5, pre-trained model to identify people, except it wasn't really like trained to identify people in water, like half a person or like a person's head or like a swimmer, and those type of water body movements that we were looking for because we wanted to identify a drowning person potentially. Um, and then it would also like automatically activate the emergency action plan for the beach, etc. And so we tried to fine tune this own model like, using the beach footage. Like when we went out on the stand, we would set up a camera before and just leave it kind of behind us all day, ignoring it. It would take its footage, and then we would go home and meet up later that night at my house. And yeah, we were trying to label it on our own too. Oh my gosh, it was.
So you've experienced data labeling.
Data labeling, yes, unfortunately. We were going like every 2 seconds or like
That's the deep, dark secret of AI and how we get these amazing outputs is that there's a lot of human capital put into the back end and going through and labeling, is this a cat or a dog? Or, I mean, technically, we've all been training these things for years. Every time we say, is this a stoplight? And, you know, in all the captions.
I was about to say that. Yeah. I mean, like originally, CAPTCHAs were those squiggly line words. Google was able to translate and transcribe over like 100 million books through us entering what we thought were just like little passwords. Then CAPTCHA changed to what you said, click the stoplights, click the street signs, click the pedestrian, bicycle. Google releases Waymo, the autonomous vehicle company. And now CAPTCHAs, I was actually telling my dad about this the other day. CAPTCHA's the third version. You don't see on the newer one, you don't see like a picture anymore. You just click the checkbox. So what are they doing? Like they're tracking your mouse activity now so that they can simulate human activity.
Yep, we are the product.
Yep, it's always been there for so much longer than people realize. Like we've been training these things.
So why did you not continue with the Meta Glasses project?
Well, so we actually got it to start identifying, like we were doing this in VS Code, talking to ChatGPT, getting like code snippets from it and editing them ourselves. And we actually got to a point where it would run. I made like a portal, a lifeguard portal at the same time. It would pull up the portal. It would identify the amount of people on the beach, kind of like vector between the beach and the water, amount of people in the water, and it would actually bounding box the people in the water with the yellow model. And yeah, and then kind of summer just ended. I went to school. I was already doing Deacon Springboard with my other AI startup. I was trying to start through Wake, Rumi, kind of like an AI student housing tool.
And Deacon Springboard is a program through our entrepreneurship program.
Yeah, so it's a 2-part program. There's Springboard, the first part. It's like a 2-hour class once a week, and then you go into Startup Lab, which is like very much so more legit. You get $10,000 to like actually pursue an idea, and you get to pitch it in front of, I think, over 600 people. At the end of Deacon Springboard, it was a cool experience. I got to pitch Rumi in front of, I think, a little over 300 people, which was cool. I mean, that was the most like tangible thing I've done with AI too, even though like even that company I haven't launched, but I actually did really pitch that one looking for investors and everything. Aqua Guardian, since I was so busy like doing other stuff, I knew it was a good idea, but it had a lot of ideas like that before. So I kind of gave it over to the guy Henry, who I worked on it with, and he started actually entering like pitch competitions and stuff, like doing the applications for that, which was awesome. And it's something that I kind of want. This makes me want to revisit it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite AI tools?
I mean, just Claude. Claude is my favorite by far. Let me check my little folder real quick. I've got it. AI resources. Yeah, I use a lot of these like Google Flow Labs for sure. So if you have the Pro subscription, you get access like Gemini Pro, and then what's called Google Flow Labs, which allows you to use their model VO3 and Nano Banana 2, which are image and video generation models. They're super good. So I loved creating like, especially for like Rumi and a bunch of these other ideas, I would create the marketing for them as well to kind of make it a little more real to me. even though I wasn't launching these companies. So I was creating like ads for Rumi with VO. I love doing that. Um, yeah, I do a lot of, well, at the same time, I was doing that Aqua Guardian tool. I was trying to design like a compressed air cannon gun for lifeguards to be able to just instantly shoot a flotation device out to a person in the water. Because I was like, why wouldn't that exist? It seems like a no-brainer. So I've been using like
I mean, we have t-shirt guns. I mean, why not?
yeah, oh, that was the exact concept. I was like, cheerleaders are shooting that thing 200 yards into a rafters. There is no reason why every lifeguard stand in the country shouldn't have a compressed lifeguard air gun. And so I started using like Dora, a bunch of like uh, 3D animation tools to kind of visualize that, looking at like ZooCAD, text-to-CAD tools. Um, hmm. I guess
I mean, you've already mentioned Lovable and Manus and Claude and Gemini.
yeah, these I mean, Manus is unbelievable too. If you want a computer to an AI agent to kind of just take control of your computer and build something, and you can actually watch it do it at the same time. So Manus probably. I was looking at my projects the other day. I was building like I haven't used it in a while, to be fair. I was building like galaxy simulations, particle simulations, and like trying to look into like black holes and stuff. Um, yeah, M87 Galaxy simulation.
What's stopping you from doing more with AI?
I think just the money, honestly, like the funding. I was talking to my dad, and he works in finance, and so he kind of understood it, and he was like, "This is like a pretty cool idea. Like, why don't you do it?" And I was like, "I for something like that, like I know about AI, but I don't know about AI. There are people who like could actually build that. I don't think with what I know, I could like maybe I could build like with Claude Code or something like a simplified version, but I would need like an actual AI engineer. I feel like for a lot of these stuff for the meta glasses, maybe I had partially something that could identify swimmers, but then how do I translate that into an actual pair of meta glasses? Do I partner with Meta or do I then make my own glasses? Is that easier? And then distribution, like we wanted to like partner then with the Red Cross and actually make it a safety campaign across the country. If this technology is truly safer, it should be mandatory. But like, how do I go about all of that? It's kind of like I don't know. It's I guess almost a confidence thing at the same time as like, do I have the capability to like, I know with AI I can like build the platform, but like actually start the company requires uh, money. It seems like I don't know. I would probably need like a real financial expert who like truly understands markets, a real AI expert who truly understands how these agents should interact. Because I know very surface level, even when you're trading paper capital with AI agents among themselves, reallocating it, that actually doesn't work because AI agents lose all risk aversion. They learn that they might as well just put all their money on these like low probability of bets, but have crazy high payouts is what they end up learning. So you actually have to inject like certain principles into them beforehand, and it's stuff that I very surface level understand, but like that's a big barrier to me. There's such a technical gap, I feel like, between I don't know.
When you're
Uh,
talking about something as critical as financial agents, how important is the model that you use?
I think if you're going to use one of the foundational LLMs, Gemini, Claude, GPT, DeepSeek, all of those at this point in time are pretty close to the same. They're all really they're the same architecture since the frontier of AI in 2017, and they're all trained essentially on the same stuff. Some are a little better than others, but I don't think it would matter too much. So there's so many considerations I feel like going into it, and so like, would you make your own model to do this? And then if I was going to do that, that's even more reason why I can't do that on my own.
Would you consider using open models?
Yes, my computer is just kind of kind of bad right now. It already barely runs from the amount of stuff that I. Oh gosh, I feel bad for for it. I run too many programs on here already.
You don't have a whole suite of Mac Studios and Mac Minis in your
No,
dorm room?
I don't. I'm a broke college kid. I've been wanting to get on the Mac Mini wave for so long too. I mean, I've had friends too, like get Mac Minis, but definitely a money problem right there.
I would be interested to see what you could do if you had a bunch of free tokens or access to a whole bunch of open models.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, tokens are cheaper than I thought. I mean, last week I went through like 25 million in Claude tokens, but it was only like $4.
I don't know what plan you're on. We're on different plans.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I'm using haiku, or like the lowest possible.
Yes, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I am still unfortunately on Claude free plan because I haven't started my internship yet and still have no money. So
Well, I will say that's where we as Wake Forest need to do better for our students. We need to give them access to some more established and the higher quality models. But
mhm.
that's a discussion for a different day, I think.
Yeah, no.
So, I'm curious to like bringing this back to a bit more about your different projects and all that. Do you find that maybe with AI, it's a bit of a double-edged sword when it comes to things like that? Because of course, it makes like entrepreneurship and getting things up and running seem like easier than ever. But do you think maybe perhaps it's too easy to where like now, if you're not getting instant gratification or instant results out of something, you could abandon like what could be a good idea?
Yes, that's something I've thought about like myself personally. I'm a guy who already has ADHD. I jump around from one thing to the other all the time, and vibe coding has become a form of social media in a way to people who are
Mhm.
very into it, where it's like social media, you get a dopamine hit every time you scroll. Vibe coding, it's like you're
It's full
building.
circle. It's just people
Yeah,
who learned some HTML and CSS and did their MySpaces back in the day, probably
yeah,
before you were born.
You're
So
gonna have to explain to him what that is.
on MySpace. I mean, yeah, but the dopamine you hit, you probably, yeah, I mean, you get, I'm sure, when you produce a potential billion-dollar business and it just appears in front of your face to these entrepreneurs is probably greater than social media. So I do think it's a double-edged sword. I mean, it's so easy to create good ideas. That I mean, you could create 100 of these things in a day with Lovable, in 1,000 ideas on top of that in a day, just by asking ChatGPT to produce you 1,000 business ideas. So like, yes, I know what you mean, and that's kind of a hard question. Like it really depends on your, I guess, your drive, focus, and motivation there. Like sticking to one is hard because there's so many possibilities to do something else cool too. And these platforms are also constantly evolving. Every single week, Lovable has like a new really cool feature that allows you to make something even better than you could before. So it's constantly like iterating. I find myself shipping a new Lovable project like and never going back to like previous ones after a while. But so it's definitely a personal problem too.
So let's wrap this up. Um, Come back to education. What are some ways that you would like to see faculty integrate artificial intelligence into their teaching?
Um, yeah, we kind of talked about this a little bit last time, or how like testing could change. I don't know if it's the best approach, but maybe AI is going to be here forever. I mean, I think it's still so important to develop the critical thinking on your own, learning equations, learning like systemic breakdowns of processes on your own, even though AI can perfectly explain it to you in 1 second. I think there probably eventually should be a way where we can like, I don't know if it's making the tests maybe much harder and more processual and focusing on how students can now solve a problem that would have taken an Einstein level genius back in the day. But now you can get your average college student, if they learn the right methodology with AI, they could solve that problem. So you could do an exam of kind of like these seemingly impossible questions, and it's really more about how do you solve these impossible things with the resources at your disposal. Um, but I don't know. I don't think the testing should not be like fully AI. There's value learning stuff on your own. One thing specifically I would love teachers to kind of talk about is Claude skills, where and how students can take advantage of that for specific classes. Because like if a teacher models in a specific way, you can kind of create these Claude skills to kind of output that. Like skills are where natural language becomes a programming language, and it allows anybody, any student at Wake Forest, to kind of become a programmer. I mean, instead of going out and creating an AI agent for a certain use case, you you can type in natural language your own Claude skill, which I think it would be like invaluable for classes where I know a lot of the teachers, especially my econ classes, have such specific ways they do modeling, formatting for tests and whatever. And so you can describe that in the Claude skill the exact way that your teacher does this stuff. And you title the skill like econ format or something. And Claude automatically now knows from now on, whenever you were to type a chat in like the main Claude chat that's relevant to anything like econ modeling, it would call the relevant skill, read that natural language prompt. It's a .md, like a markdown file that you write notes in, and it tells Claude exactly how to behave for that given task automatically. No APIs, no infrastructure, and you just write the natural language required. It saves it as skill.md is what it's called, and Claude just follows that operating procedure you outlined very in detail. And I think that there's kind of a way where teachers could, it could be so valuable. I think people are spending a lot of time right now, companies are spending a lot of time making AI agents when a very detailed skill folder, I think, is actually the better way to do it. And so that could be helpful not only for companies, but I think students, if they could create like a skill folder, almost like of their specific like use cases in their life, like their classes specifically, if teachers were showing them this, kind of explaining like how to create an optimal like folder architecture for it, it could be very helpful. And it's not too complicated because again, you're writing in like human language. You don't need to be a programmer for this. It's just the difference between building a robot from scratch versus writing an incredibly like detailed job description for a brilliant employee, which is Claude.
So I'm curious, like, you're obviously, you know, pursuing a degree in education in something vastly different than I did. Now through your own endeavors and working on these projects and all that, are you finding that a lot of what you've learned and are learning on your own, is that being touched upon in like the courses you're taking?
Um, no.
Okay.
Not really. I mean, but I see why in the end. I mean, my macro econ class that I was in this semester, there was no use case that I could even name right now where AI would have like needed to be in that classroom. I really liked it. Could just be because I loved what I learned and I want that information kind of memorized because it's relevant, interest rates, everything relevant to my job personally. So I feel like I need to learn it without AI.
Sure.
But also just like it's macro econ specifically, maybe it's very conceptual, like the national savings equation, like learning how that all the factors, consumption, government spending, investments. I think it's better that a teacher just explains that. It was more helpful than I don't need a visual. That AI just creates the same visual that the teacher did, and the teacher is explaining it to us in person and has an actual PhD in the field.
Wow.
Uh, so like, yeah, I mean, I to that point though, my BEM class this year, BEM 375, Contemporary Issues in Capitalism, I think it's called. Our last unit was it was on AI and capitalism, and it was super interesting, talking about kind of I guess how if kind of low skilled laborers, how they're going to be affected by AI. Third world countries, I mean, if the Great Barrier to Information is broken, kind of how that will impact third world countries and development and democracy. So that class did touch on AI. Not that we didn't actually like use AI products in the class, but we were talking about its impact on the world, which maybe I would like to see that more than the actual use of AI in classes, where maybe the macro econ teacher could start talking about like if you're actually going into this field studying this, like AI can impact this in this way. I feel like they would or should know that as a PhD, like how AI is going to impact their field, and like yeah, they could show us that in class too. Um, Not seeing it in school as much as it should be, but Wake seems like it's farther ahead. I don't know if you guys agree with this, but then a lot of schools across the country. I saw we won an award recently,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's kind of my take on current state of AI at Wake. Definitely need to. I think the first step is probably making like a licensing agreement where all students can have Claude Pro Max for free. But in my opinion, unbiasedly,
In your opinion, we'll make a, YouTube short of that one and send that to all the administrators.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, there definitely should be like more integration into classes. I don't know if I talked to you about the FYS thing, but you were telling me how extremely hard that process is to get an FYS. I don't know. It seems like the perfect FYS introductory class though would be something taught by you, Ryan, where you teach these like incoming students how to like actually do this stuff. I don't, but like, and you kind of generalize it. You apply this is like a generalizing AI class to every major. You ask them in the FYS, what's your major going to be? And then you guys go through like student by student, like use case by use case, looking at the best ways that they can use it for the next 4 years of college. And so right off the bat at college, they get an FYS, kind of just carving that path for them. They know like that potential, which I think is kind of like underground right now.
Okay, you just set yourself up for our final question.
All right.
And I'm going to base it on what you just said. You've already mentioned a couple different ways that you have used AI in your classroom pursuits. You talked about the gems and making visualizations and some scenarios. But what are some ways that after you go through the summer, when you come back in the fall, you may try new things to integrate with AI in your academic pursuits? Now, given that since we've been recording, things have changed 7 times, and
Yeah, seriously.
we probably don't know what's coming out tomorrow and then in 2 weeks. So think of maybe the capabilities now and the capabilities that may come throughout the summer. But what are some ways that you would like to personally integrate AI more into your classroom experience?
Yeah, I think kind of that Canvas tool I talked about earlier, where I also, as I keep doing. I don't finish things till completion. Kind of a system that starts making the resources for the assignments in advance of those assignments. It recognizes when I like to study for things, and it will have everything prepared for me almost upon arrival in a custom Canvas dashboard. Like within the platform, it has an interactive quiz, just like a Gemini Canvas already generated right there, and you really like never need to leave. It's kind of a one-stop shop platform. I don't even know how to describe it, where when I enter this platform and then I exit it, I know for a fact that this AI has walked me through in an optimal way everything that I need to do to be prepared for the day, for the week. And when I close it, then I'm done. Kind of like a safe space where it really just walks you through using your Canvas API token step by step what you need to be done to be prepared. That's one thing that I like really want to work on. And then I guess in terms of like technology that I kind of want to see and use, Subquadratic, a company that kind of new in the last few days, maybe 2, 3 days, 72 hours. It's SubQ. It's using a subquadratic architecture to kind of so it's like when a current LLM like reads a sentence, it's like they're analyzing the relationship between every pair of words all at once, and it uses an exponential amount of tokens, a quadratic amount. Like uh, as you double the input, you're quadrupling the output. So it's using up so many tokens, and subquadratic kind of changes this, where in a sentence like I like Wake Forest University. Actually, that's not a great example, but or like let's just say you technically don't need all the words in the sentence. You would only need like the core things, like Wake Forest or something like that. And so you can create a system where then it analyzes only those relationships and it saves an exponential amount of tokens. And they're claiming things like they can reduce they're beating every other model by like 100 times. They can reduce energy efficiency by like 50%, and there is no independent verification of their claims as of today, I believe. But I would love to see like an actual agency go in and verify their claims against the top other models. They've done it themselves and released the papers for it. It looks amazing. Looks like it's going to be a super cool, like fast new technology. It just came out of a stealth, but that's something I've already requested early access, so I would love to do that. And then I would also next semester. You were talking to me about the Wake Forest. Is it called the supercomputing cluster or?
Yeah, our deep cluster.
So that's something that I think no students seem like they know about. It was the first time I had heard of it when you told me. I mean, you were talking about how we've even had a student athlete come on and train his own AI model. I mean, that's something to me that would be.
Jalen Marshall, a great episode.
Yep, go watch it. That would be something that would be amazing, and that maybe like students could get involved in. I would love to be involved in. And then last time, Ryan, we talked about how SLMs specific for schools are going to be a thing, and I would really like to make that happen for Wake if they're not already doing it. I mean,
Small
doesn't
language
seem,
models.
yeah, it doesn't seem like I don't know, maybe that's something that can be done on that supercomputing cluster, training that.
I can't wait for you to build one for us when you come back from your internship.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's like I would like love to be involved, and whether that's it would be super cool too if that would meant working with like real people in the CS department, and then I would actually get to talk to somebody much more knowledgeable than I am. Like
I don't know if there are many on campus after hearing you talk with throughout this episode.
no, there definitely are. I mean, like being an econ major, not a CS major, never having taken a CS course, like when you study AI like you like I do, you get really like a fragmented knowledge of it, where like you're learning like all these terms, these terminology, but like I just know that you talk to one actual AI engineer, he would toss me a question, and I might there's a chance I'd be like, I have no clue what you're talking about. Like they understand things. I try to, and my goal is to stay ahead and like be almost there as an econ major. They just understand things at like a completely different level. Um, yeah, beyond anything that I'm capable of. So yeah, I would love to like work with like actual CS majors or departments. I mean, it's one thing like when I look at I spent so many hours like vibe coding that you get an understanding of code and how to fix errors as I'm helping ChatGPT fix all these errors in code bases and databases and stuff. So you get like a general knowledge, but it's not like a CS major would have. I'm trying to say.
Good luck on your internship this summer. And when you've hacked Polymarket and Kalshi, come back and talk to us on the podcast and let us know how it goes. All right, man?
All right, I will do. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks again to our guest, and thanks for listening to the Deeks.ai podcast. Please continue to follow the AI discussion by subscribing on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. If you have any comments, questions, or would like to join the discussion, please email us at deeks.ai@wfu.edu.